Mark was 32 years old, had a decent job in Dallas, and made a salary that would have impressed his 22-year-old self. On paper, he was doing fine. He earned just over $78,000 a year. He had a newer car, a one-bedroom luxury apartment with a pool and a gym, the latest iPhone, a big flat-screen TV mounted perfectly on the wall. And yet, every single month, 3 days before payday, his checking account dropped below $100, sometimes below $20. He would sit on his couch at night, staring at his banking app, feeling that quiet panic in his chest. How am I making this much and still broke? If that question sounds familiar, you're not alone. Nearly 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Even people making over $75,000 a year struggle with cash flow. It's not always about income. For Mark, the turning point didn't come from losing his job or getting into massive debt. It came from a simple conversation at a barbecue. His friend Daniel showed up in an older pickup truck. Nothing fancy. Mark had just upgraded his car to a $540 a month lease. Daniel's truck was paid off. They were the same age, similar salaries. But Daniel mentioned something strange. "I just bought another asset." Mark laughed. "What kind of asset? Crypto?" Daniel smiled. "No, a duplex." Mark blinked. "You mean like real estate?" "Yeah, the rent covers the mortgage, and I cash flow about $400 a month after expenses." Mark felt something shift in his stomach. He made more money than Daniel. He drove a nicer car. He lived in a nicer apartment. But Daniel's money was building something. Mark's money was disappearing. That night, Mark went home and searched one simple question. What's the difference between assets and liabilities? The definition sounded basic. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Simple. Too simple. Mark looked around his apartment. The leather couch? Liability. The 75-inch TV? Liability. The car lease? Big liability. The credit card balance? Definitely a liability. He had always thought of those things as signs he was doing well. But none of them paid him. They all cost him. That's when it hit him. Mark didn't have an income problem. He had an asset problem. Like most Americans, he had been trained to upgrade his lifestyle every time his income went up. When he got a raise, he moved into a nicer apartment. When he got a bonus, he upgraded his car. When he paid off one credit card, he filled up another. He was building a life full of liabilities. And he thought he was building wealth. The next morning at work, Mark opened a spreadsheet. He listed everything he owned. Then he listed everything he owed. It wasn't pretty. $12,400 in credit card debt. $18,000 remaining on student loans. $540 car lease payment. $2,050 monthly rent. Random subscriptions he barely used. After taxes and deductions, he took home about $4,900 a month. And almost all of it was spoken for before the month even started. Mark wasn't broke because he didn't earn enough. He was broke because his money had no soldiers working for him. Every dollar he earned was being sent out to work for someone else. The landlord, the car dealership, the credit card company, streaming services, restaurants. He was financing everyone else's assets. That realization stung. But it also gave him clarity. Mark made one decision that changed everything. For the next 12 months, he would focus on buying assets instead of liabilities. He didn't quit his job. He didn't start a crazy business. He didn't gamble on crypto. He started small. First, he attacked his credit card debt. Not because debt is evil, but because 22% interest is brutal. That interest was a liability on steroids. He cut eating out from 5 times a week to once. Canceled 3 subscriptions. Sold his almost new gaming console. Picked up freelance design work on weekends. It wasn't glamorous. His friends still went out. Still upgraded gadgets. Still posted vacation photos. Mark stayed home some weekends and worked. 6 months later, his credit card debt was gone. For the first time in years, his paycheck wasn't already spoken for. But instead of celebrating by upgrading something, he did something different. He opened a brokerage account. The first investment? A low-cost index fund. Nothing flashy, no stock picking, no day trading. He learned that historically the U.S. stock market has returned about 7 to 10% annually over the long term. He set up automatic investments, $600 a month. It didn't feel life-changing. But something subtle happened. For the first time, his money was working even while he slept. That feeling is powerful. 3 months later, he noticed something. His account had grown. Not because he worked overtime, not because he negotiated a raise, but because he owned assets. And assets produce. That small win shifted his identity. He stopped asking, "Can I afford this?" and started asking, "Will this make me money or cost me money?" When his car lease ended, the dealership tried to lure him into a newer model. He paused. A $650 payment for 5 more years, or buy a reliable used car in cash. He chose the used car. The difference in payment? He redirected it straight into investments. Within 2 years, Mark had no credit card debt, a fully funded emergency fund, over $25,000 invested, and a side income stream from freelance work bringing in $800 a month. He wasn't rich, but something had changed. His stress level dropped. He no longer panicked 3 days before payday. He knew that if he lost his job, he wouldn't collapse immediately. That's the real difference between assets and liabilities. Liabilities trap you in survival mode. Assets give you options. Most people think wealth is about how much you earn. But wealth is really about how many income-producing assets you own. A luxury apartment feels like success. A new car feels like progress. Upgraded gadgets feel rewarding. But if they don't produce income, they're expenses dressed up as achievements. Mark eventually bought his first rental property at 35. Not a mansion, a modest single-family home in a growing suburb. The numbers made sense. After mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance, he cleared about $350 a month. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was proof. He now had multiple streams of income. His job, his freelance work, dividends and market growth, rental cash flow. If one stream slowed down, the others kept flowing. That's financial security. Not a high salary. Not a fancy title. Not a social media image. Security comes from owning assets that pay you. And here's the part most people don't realize. Assets don't have to be big. It could be investments, a small business, skills that generate extra income, digital products, dividend-paying stocks, rental property, even building an audience online. Anything that puts money into your pocket consistently. Liabilities, on the other hand, are sneaky. They look impressive, they feel rewarding, they make you look successful. But quietly, month after month, they drain your future freedom. Mark still enjoys life. He still travels, still eats out, still buys things he likes. But now every major purchase goes through one filter. Is this building my future or borrowing from it? That single question reshaped his financial life. And here's the truth most people avoid. The system encourages liabilities. Ads push upgrades. Social media pushes comparison. Banks push financing. Car dealers push monthly payments instead of total cost. Nobody runs commercials telling you to buy index funds. Nobody makes viral posts about emergency funds. But that's where real power lives. By 40, Mark's investments crossed $200,000. He wasn't famous, wasn't a CEO, didn't inherit money. He simply learned the difference between assets and liabilities, and made decisions accordingly. Compound growth started doing what it always does when given time. It accelerates. The same way debt compounds against you, assets compound for you. That's the quiet secret. You can earn a great salary and still be broke. Or you can earn an average salary and build wealth. The difference isn't how much you make. It's what you keep and what you own. So the next time you're about to upgrade something, pause. Ask yourself, is this an asset or a liability? Because your financial future isn't built in one big decision. It's built in hundreds of small ones. And the day you stop collecting liabilities and start collecting assets is the day money stops controlling you and starts working for you instead.